Well, Robert just came in, so we can start.
Right as it turns 7.
So we can start.
Let's go. Well, we want to welcome everybody to the meeting this morning. Glad everybody's here. Do we need introductions again?
I don't know. I don't think so.
You know what we really ought to do is get little name
Should
cards.
we put?
Do you want me to make name cards? I will make you name cards
Little
if
name
you want
cards.
me
We put
to.
name cards around everybody.
We could introduce if you'd like.
Okay.
Chris Tschirki, Public Works Director.
Okay.
Joe Gordon, I work for the Army National Guard.
Mike Whimpey, work for Central Utah Water, live in Southwest Orem.
Robert Moore, also live in Southwest Orem and work for Utah County Attorney's Office.
Gary Morley, just the advisory committee.
Michalis, chair of the committee.
April Nielson, Administrative Assistant for PWAC, Public Works.
I'm Price, Assistant Public Works Director.
Tyler Peay, Public Services Division Manager. Cody Steggell, Streets Manager. I'm guessing games in traffic.
Taylor Forbush, Traffic Section Manager.
Thayne Carter, Fleet Manager.
Giles, Demke, Water Reclamation Section Manager. Rick Sabey, Water Section Manager.
Okay, thank you. All right, do I have a motion to approve the minutes for last meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, guess we're turning it over to Taylor.
Okay, Taylor. Yeah.
You're up already.
Do you need a little bit of time to set up for this?
Just the TV.
Okay. Maybe Rick, can you give us an update on what you see coming down the river? And
Water.
I could have said that.
Actually, dirty water.
Dirty
I
water.
noticed last night there's a lot of sediment in it. Suspended solids. It's pretty chocolate colored last night.
Tobler River?
Turtle River.
Oh.
Say which river were you at? Giles' River? Giles, no, going down Giles' River.
His river down there is always kind of.
Ours is nice and clean.
Giles, yeah, that's pretty clean water that's going out there.
It really is.
Well, maybe, I'm saying as it's coming in, not going out.
Oh,
The river coming in.
I think that the low level melt, the water that we don't know exactly where it's going to, it just goes, you know, it's pretty much gone. Now we're into more historic drainage areas where the rivers are starting to swell. There's a lot of rivers that swell as you look around the state. And Tobler River is kind of a unique situation because it's got containment upstream with Deer Creek and Jordanelle. So it's not quite as unregulated as some of the others, but the flows do go up and down, but they're going up a little bit every day, it seems like. Deer Creek's filling up. I drive past it at night and it's starting to fill up pretty good. I don't know how far down it is, I haven't checked, but probably, I don't know, 10 feet from full pool, I'm guessing, just looking at it. And water's going in like crazy. Water's coming out of Wallsburg and down Tobler River. There's quite a bit of water coming that way. So we're into our upper, mid and upper level snow melt now, and that's really causing some creeks to swell. Be careful out around them.
We've been monitoring Dry Canyon as well. Dry Canyon is the canyon just northeast of Orem and east of Linden. Probably some of you have hiked up there before. That's the hike you take up to Mount Baldy, if you're into that. We don't have a drop of water out of there.
As of yesterday, that's good news.
Yeah, as of yesterday. In similar years when we've had this kind of snow at these elevations, we've monitored that and been a little extra concerned. We think all the water just goes right into the ground up there, though. And we didn't have any water in past years when we've had similar snow events. Timpanogos Divide, Snowtail Station, which was probably over 300% of average this year, which is up by Aspen Grove and up at the divide where it splits and goes to the Provo River versus the American Fork River. I think that's about over 60% melted right now. Another gauge that we check out is Trial Lake. It's up at the top of the Provo River, and that's at about, I think it's about 75% remaining there. So that's gonna come off at the end. But thanks to Mike Whimpey's organization and the Bureau of Reclamation, they're managing Jordanelle Reservoir and Deer Creek Reservoirs quite well. So I know that you're in communication back and forth and concerned about potential flooding and mitigation efforts, and I feel really good about what's coming down and how it's coming down and how we're helping to assist that in a manageable way. So.
We do expect flows in the Provo River to pick up in about 2 to 3 weeks as those reservoirs.
Lower Provo?
Mhm.
Yeah.
As we start to have, like was commented, Deer Creek is up and near full elevation, and as Jordanelle approaches that as well. In the next few weeks, we expect the flows to pick up in the Provo River as we have to pass through the runoff.
I have my alarm set, not my clock, but I did have that set today. But on the river, I have an alarm that tells me when the flow reaches a certain level. It just hit 600 CFS on, it's like Sunday evening. And so I reset the alarm to 700. Every 100 I want it to give me an alert so I know about what we're looking at. That river capacity is right around 2,000 CFS, maybe closer to 1,800 if you want to consider not having any property inundated. And historically the peak has been around 20, not the peak, but the historic record is about 2,500 CFS back in like 52 or so. That was before Jordanelle. Now that we have Jordanelle, the floods that happened in 83, 86, they wouldn't have happened with the Jordanelle Reservoir, because that has a capacity of about 330,000 acre feet. Deer Creek is like 880,000 acre feet. So almost half of Deer Creek would not have come down and flooded and inundated back then. So it's great that we have two in tandem, and that we have great flood control measures. So there's that update. I'd like to turn the rest of the meeting time over to our traffic operations section. This is Taylor Forbush and Justin Gaines.
Perfect. Well, thank you for letting us come and present to you about our section. We are the traffic section, so I brought a few props so people get amazed at the size of things. That is an actual signal head, and that is an actual sign that goes up on the signal mast arm for the address. I wanted to go over some of the things that we do as the traffic section, and then if we have time we can maybe see the traffic operations center upstairs. Has anyone seen that yet? Kind of upstairs? Okay. No. Okay.
Field trip too. Props and a field trip.
Be a very short walk upstairs. Okay, as a traffic section, we are over traffic signals. So this is the maintenance and operation. So we do timing, of course the maintenance, the detection. We're over any other traffic operations, so any events. So when BYU runs their football games or stadium fire, we're up in our traffic operations center controlling the signals remotely. It's kind of fun to do. We help the city out with when a development comes in. We go over the traffic impacts and traffic studies. Sometimes we require developers to submit traffic impact studies when they're going to have a big impact. So we review those and traffic control plans, all that stuff. We help and assist engineering with. We do street lights, need the green, well, all street lights now, green poles, and we're in the process of getting rid of all the silver poles as well.
Yes, we had
Listen, we'll talk
Four.
about that.
4 older lighting districts that were the old silver Cobra head poles when they started the project of putting in streetlights everywhere. Those have all expired. We've since bought those lights, and now we're in the process of taking them down and putting in our nicer green decorative lights. We did phase 1 was State Street on the south end. We got that one done. Phase 2 was Center Street to about 5th South, State Street to about 5th East. Did that 2 years ago and got that one completed. We just started 2 weeks ago on phase 3, which is 4th North to about 6th North, State Street to about 200 East, where Sharon Park is, kind of just west of there. That's supposed to be completed by August. I think they'll be way faster than that. But that project also includes 2 blocks at 6th North and 12th West, between 1000 West and 12th West. There's 2 blocks in there that got about 7 lights. So when we add up all of our lights, we're at like 6,300 lights. 6,337 is the number that we submit for the thing, for the capital assets. And we have really one guy who maintains all that on a regular basis. As a section, we help them out when needed. But our biggest issue right now is because we went to LEDs. It used to be light bulbs, now it's dig-ins, and this year was just, we were accident prone. We had a lot of streetlights hit by cars. I don't know, it didn't always seem like it was on the icy days. It was just coincidence that we had a big snow day and lots of streetlights hit. I think I've added them up. We had like 18 hit this winter, and so it's always a big one because it's not just go send a new pole up. We've got to then go straight in the base and replace everything, get things ordered, and so if you drive around, you probably see some. In fact, I know he has a picture in here of one of them that got hit last year or the year before, and it was a pretty good accident on that one too. So.
So we also do roadway striping. We both contract out and do our own striping, and we do all the roadway markings, so the arrows, the legends, and crosswalks, and we also do all the fiber optic work for the infrastructure for the city.
And when we talk fiber optics, we're not talking Utopia. Utopia is their own entity. They have their own fiber. We have about 35 feet, or 35 miles of fiber that is there that's city-owned, city-maintained. It's used to connect all of our traffic signals. All of our city buildings are connected with our own fiber. We were actually the first city in Utah to put fiber optics in back in the 90s. When everybody else was putting twisted pair, basically phone line in, we decided to jump on and do fiber instead, and kind of started the craze. We have several firsts in Utah, or being the first city in Utah to do it. Fiber optics was one of them. I think we were the first city to do preemption as well, and we were the first city to do the double red that you see down at Mountain View, where there are 2 red heads and then it comes down to a yellow and a green. We did that because we had either accidents or near misses with pedestrians down there. What we decided in kind of reviewing it and studying it was that all summer long that signal stays red or stays green. People get complacent and not thinking about it. School starts and suddenly it goes red and people don't realize it's even changing, that there's even a signal there. So putting a double reds up just made it more visible when it went red. And as far as I know, I haven't heard of a near miss or an accident at that intersection involving a pedestrian since we did it. The state, I actually presented to the state after we did it, and if you look around, the state's put it up in a lot of places. I know they have it done in Provo. I saw a double red here in Orem somewhere, 8th North. Is it Palisade that now has double reds?
Yeah, it's got one at Center Street and 8th East now, but put one up there.
So it's always been approved by the MUTCD, which is this national standard that we run by, and it was just kind of somebody had to read the book long enough to find that it was available and try it out, I guess. So we did it. Like I said, the state's kind of taken it from there. So, and when he talks about traffic signals, we have 37 city-owned traffic signals. How many total? 75. The other half are the states.
40 state and
Yeah, so we're about 77. We're working on one. In fact, we're in pre-con for one tomorrow on 4 South and 4th West, in conjunction with that water tank park project. And when we time them, we time everything. We don't just time our 37. We time the state's 40 as well, because without the state being timed the right way, ours would be pointless. So it's a citywide timing effort when we do it. It's not just we time ours, they time theirs. We do it in conjunction with the state.
what happens here ties in with Provo, ties in with Linden and Pleasant Grove North.
The 0 point of the entire county, is as long as it's still the same it was prior, is State and Parkway. That's what we call a 0 point. Everything times from there. So Provo is timed from there going, like, as we go south, it times into Provo. As we go north up State Street, it times into Linden, Pleasant Grove, and American Fork.
North is more of the 0 point now. It's kind of shifted.
Shifted again.
We manage our own projects for the most part. We had two major projects in the past little while. We had a $1.2 million MAG funded project to upgrade traffic signals, and our latest one was $1.5 million. So over the past 8 years, we've had $2.7 million coming in to upgrade our system. Most of it federally funded, and we had a match of, gosh, whatever the MAG match was, 7.5%, something like that. So we've gotten a lot of dollars to upgrade it, and our last upgrade was mostly doing the flashing yellow arrow, upgrading that from the 5-section head doghouse style signal head, and we did that as an operational benefit.
And that does give us more than just a permissive head. Studies have shown it's actually more intuitive to a new driver than the flashing yellow arrow than the 5-section doghouse being permissive wise. It also allows us to go protective at certain times of the day. I know on Center Street and OB, we go protected. And the state just went that on 8th North and Geneva, they go protected during the day just to avoid accidents, left turn accidents. So,
What does that mean, protected?
So protected means it only is the green arrow. You can only turn on green arrow. Permissive is you can go on the normal green. So like on the doghouse, you would get the green arrow, but then it would just be the green balls and you had to turn freely. With this, it's when the flashing yellow arrow comes up, you can go when it's clear. So that'd be what would we consider protected permissive. It could be protected, it could be permissive. Like I said, the state during the day on Geneva just locks it out. We do the same on Center Street, and OB is it's only going to let you turn on the arrow. It's just when traffic volumes are high, people are trying to shoot through a gap, that's when we have the accidents, and so we just restrict it during those times. So I think on Center Street we do it kind of through the peak point of the day. Geneva, like I said, they do it anytime. I think they're timing. So at night, if you go drive Geneva Road 8th North at night or early in the morning, you'll get a flashing yellow arrow to come up onto 8th North. But after about 8 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, it won't. It'll just stay red arrow, go green arrow. Gives you a turn.
Thanks.
So
Well, one of the changes we're actually in the process of making is utilizing that protected duration longer when you have a pedestrian. One of the trials that we did during this last phase of the ITS upgrade, signal upgrade project, was we added a second flashing yellow arrow head. You'll see two heads, one on the left side, one up on the mast arm, and we did this for the bigger roads like Center Street. And the reason we were testing this out is because when you're focused on the incoming traffic and looking for a gap and trying to look up at, make sure it's still flashing, you're not focused on any pedestrian crossing that crosswalk. And one of the biggest pedestrian fatality movements is that left turn. We've had a couple in the city, and it's a bad thing. So the goal of that was to bring that flashing yellow arrow into the cone of vision for the driver to be able to see pedestrian crossing that movement. We try to do things innovatively to improve safety, and so far the state hasn't adopted that system, but I think eventually they will. They've adopted several of our safety enhancements that we've done just to improve safety around the state. So one of the changes we're making with timing is to give the pedestrian, if they push the button, give them more time before that permissive phase comes up. So we're going to hold that red to allow the pedestrian to get through. That way the driver knows, okay, something's different. It's not my usual, what's going on? Oh, there's a pedestrian. So we've had way too many people hit in crosswalks, and it's extremely dangerous crossing the street in that left turn. We can improve that safety. We can improve, reduce the number of hits and fatalities. In Orem, we run two different types of detection. There's fisheye video detection, which is this little camera. It's one camera that looks straight down at the intersection. It's clear up 40 feet, and it sees the whole intersection, and it's tracking vehicles through that as it approaches. And the other type is Wavetronics microwave sensor, so it's radar detection, and we're about 50-50 in the city on which intersections the ratio is 50-50. We generally use Wavetronics at larger intersections and fisheye at smaller ones. So Center Street's going to get your radar. This is 4th East and 16th North. That's got the video. The video detection and both the Wavetronics and video, they will count vehicles, so we get vehicle counts and data from that source.
So this is the accident I was telling you about. That's actually on Center Street, or on 12th West, just north of Center, about 90 North. Car took out the ground sleeve, the street light, somehow did not catch the cars in front of that building.
This driver was texting. No issues with the roads. The weather was cloudy, but it was clear and the roads were fine.
But you can see how this base gets left. You can see the base, close. You can see the base is all bent. So it's not just simply go unbolt and put a new light up. We've got to come pull that back straight. In fact, this one, we went to pull it straight and realized the base has got to be replaced now. So now we got to dig out the base. It's 4 feet deep with concrete on it, and so we got to get in there, pull the base, put a new base on it, stand and pull, and get it all wired back in. That one, like I said, still not done today. We're still trying to get the time to get the back truck out there to pack it all out. This other picture, this is on Center and 4th East. When we, so you can see the meter up over his shoulder. That was the meter that ran the signal. And back when we started building signals way back when, that was pretty standard practice to put a meter in just a breaker panel underneath it. Wasn't the most secure thing in the world, or the most convenient thing for any of us to have to deal with. So in some of our upgrades, I think this was part of our project upgrade, was to add a power pedestal. So now the meter's down in this box, our breakers are in there locked up. Just a lot more convenient, a lot easier for all of us to deal with. So this is the power company making the power swap over to us, to the new meter location. And this is that near side left turn head he's talking about too. So this is the flashing yellow arrow section here, kind of making you look at the corner where the pedestrian would be standing instead of up high. Because if you go out and watch traffic long enough, you realize drivers only look at the signal occasionally. I was out, we had a flashing signal yesterday, and You would think that a flashing signal would be dangerous, or even a black signal would be dangerous. Drivers seem to know what to do if they see it. You know, if they see it black, most of them will stop. They see it flashing, they definitely stop. It's when you're taking it out of flash, they don't look back up. And so you get a car who's driving down the road, says, oh, signal's flashing. They're no longer thinking, what's the signal doing? They're thinking, okay, how do I get through this intersection? I pull up, I gotta stop, clear it, and go. Well, when we pull it out of flash, as they go to stop, they're not looking up anymore. So now you've got people who are gonna try and go on the red when the side street went green. And so anything that can kind of pull their eyes down to where a pedestrian is, we always just have to step out in the road to stop for those kind of situations. But obviously a ped can't do that. So anything we can get their eyes to come down to where the pedestrians are.
What's the cost of repairing like a mess like that? Do you know offhand or?
So that street light right there is about $4,500 for the light for us to buy it. We then add our labor in. I think the bill to the insurance is about $7 with truck and time and everything else. And a corridor, like I said, this is a residential, so this is one of our Washington post hop out on Center Street, those big corridor lights.
This one.
Yeah, like this light, if that light got hit, that one encroaches on 10. That's about, because that one's almost 8,000 just to buy the light. And so we're close to 10,000 on that one. Assuming there's no anything else with the light. We have some Wavetronics count stations that are on some lights that we've had hit, and so that adds another $4,000, $5,000 to a light. It can get expensive if you hit the wrong one. The traffic cabinet you can't see in this right here. Those are about $10,000 for the cabinet, and then probably close to another 10 with all the components inside it. So I've been out on those accidents. I hear somebody say, well, I didn't run a rear end the car in front of me, so I swerved and hit the cabinet. And I was thinking, you should have rear-ended the car in front of you. It's cost-wise, it'd be a lot cheaper.
Unless you got whiplash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually had a car center in 4th West. I don't know what she was doing. She was distracted somehow, but was going to rear end an ambulance. And decided she didn't want to rear end the ambulance, so she swerved and actually hit the cabinet, knocked it down, and propped her Suburban up on top of the pedestal. So it was floating, all 4 wheels off the ground. And she's like, I didn't want to hit the ambulance. And I thought, that ambulance is built pretty tough. Probably should hit it, because this is going to be expensive.
I'm glad she didn't.
Yeah, I'm sure Thayne is. So. These are our entryway signs that I think have all been removed now, right? This one's still there?
No, well, they've been replaced.
Yeah, we're replacing these. But I think this picture right here kind of shows you the difference between, and that's what you get out of these two stop signs. This one's an extreme case. There's no red.
Still reflective, but no red.
Yeah. But you can kind of see where a new reflective sheeting is super bright and the other one just kind of blends off in the dark. You can have a sign that looks almost this good in the daylight, but at night does that and just disappears. I used to know of examples of school signs that did that. We changed them now, but that's one of the things we have to monitor. Like I said, the sign can look really good, but be completely unreflective at night. So we do night inspections. We send our guy out to do daytime inspections just to check for legibility, stuff like that.
Night inspection means you drive the whole city and hit every sign with the light.
And signs aren't reflective. They're what they call retroreflectivity. It's kind of I always love the picture they show. So reflective is like a mirror. You look, it comes right back. It's a straight shot back.
This
So
would be reflective.
So on retroreflectivity, the idea is the driver is sitting above his headlights. So instead of the light bouncing straight back to where the light source is, it actually bounces back above it. And so if when your headlights hit the sign, instead of it bouncing back to where your headlights are down here, it actually bounces back to where your eyes are. So it makes it more visible. And all of our signs are going retroreflective. At least stop signs, our address signs, warning signs. Like the ones that aren't would be like in a park, a parking sign in a park. But 95% of our
So
signs are going
on the
retroreflective.
retroreflective signs, you can have the light on your phone and just hold it about your nose, and just one sign will be much brighter than the other. That's the retroreflective. It won't be bright in the other direction. It's meant to be the angle of your headlights versus what comes into the car window.
The signs we produce are retroreflective, but over time, then that retroreflectivity goes away.
Yeah, it fades and goes
Right.
away, and like I said, and then they start to go black. And like I said, if you took I wish we had this picture in the daylight. You'd probably those two signs would almost look identical in a light, but you can see in the dark with just a light shining on it, the other one disappears.
Our newer material holds retro-reflectivity much better. It just starts to crack over time, and we get about 10 years out of the sign before it needs to be replaced.
How many signs do we have in the city that we maintain,
It's a number you know about.
that we have to replace on a 10-year basis or whatever it might be?
Let's see, about 20,000? Sounds about right.
Yeah. Counting
So-
for address signs being
Yeah.
like an address sign on the corner is 4 signs because you got 2 directions and both sides of the sign, so it ends up being 4 signs, but on one post. So. This is our pictures of our striping. I know we brought up that we do striping and marking. So striping in our world is linear lines, your center turn lanes, your lane lines. This is 8 South. Like I said, we contract that out, but that doesn't. We still have to go out and do all the pilot dotting. So we review when we know the road's going to get paved. We review the striping and decide: does the master plan call for a bike lane? Does it call for, what do we need to do there? It's a great time for us to change striping because it's completely covered up. It's completely removed. So that's when we'll usually add bike lanes if the traffic master plan calls for it. And then we'll go out and dot it all. This year we bought a Trimble little robot that'll actually do that dotting for us. In the past we've gone out with a tape measure and four or 5 guys just to pull across the road and, okay, this is 10 feet, measure it and go. Now the robot, we can send that striping in and just set it, drive down the road, and we can come back and do the dots. It should save us hours upon hours of doing that. Markings are more crosswalks, stop bars, legends. So that legend's out at Center Street and on the freeway. So we do it in color. We can do most of our stuff's white. This is 4 South 8th West. When we made that a 4-way stop, we added that stop bar crosswalk in. So we have right now we have a crew of 2. We have a full-time guy and a flexible employee that will be out doing all this markings this summer. Just getting started. As we speak today, he'll start doing some of this marking stuff. And then we will do some long line here and there if we can't we contract with Done Right to do it all throughout the whole city. Small patches, small things here and there we'll probably do ourselves just because of accessibility and time, just getting us out there. So I know Cody's crew is working on a patch up on 12th West today. When they get done, we'll go out and pilot out and probably paint that one ourselves. It's not very long. So we do have a paint machine on a truck if we need to use it, but we're kind of moving away from that and just contracting. It's easier and cheaper to contract out with the contractor. I'm still trying to figure out where that is. This is what you'd see for fiber optics.
That's off of 8 East,
Oh, that's at Cascade Hunt. Yeah,
Cascade
you're right.
Elementary.
There's now a hawk right there. Hawk signal right there at that crosswalk.
So this is our fiber optic that we have in the ground. This is a
288.
288. So we don't have very many of these.
We don't have any 288. We have 144s as large as we go.
144. So each fiber is about as thick as a hair strand. I'll just pass that around.
But a 288 is what we will put in the new city center. We are actually going to bring fiber out of that building in 3 different directions. We'll go southeast to a box that's existing where all of our fiber is now. That'll be a 288. It'll get spliced. I think we have 270 something fibers ready to splice day 1. So that fiber will be all used up and done. It'll be strictly for city use. We will then put 96 strands of fiber out southwest towards State Street to an existing box out there, with nothing planned to be on it right day 1. It'll be for companies like Comcast or somebody else who needs to get a feed into the city center, instead of having them run their own cable in, we'll just splice them onto that 96. And then we'll run a 96 northeast towards the courthouse and police station, which will get the courthouse 12 strand on it, and the police station I think may have a 24 strand that we'll splice onto it day one. And then again, it'll have some capacity to carry future use through that. When you splice fiber, we fusion splice it, so it's actually an arc. Actually takes the fiber, heats it up, pushes it together, and then pulls it back straight. So it actually fuses the glass together. It's a pretty cool process. But you can imagine when you start getting 288 hair strands all down there together and trying to match them up and get them to splice and then lay straight in a tray. It's not for the faint of heart, and it takes some time. And I can do fusion splicing. I talk about it, but I'm like, I wouldn't want to do more than 12 on a tray, just because it gets real cumbersome after that. So right before we started the construction on the actual digging the hole on the city center, that Sunday before we moved all of our fiber connections into the current city center, it was 60 fibers that were being used currently, and we had to move them over onto one of our existing 96 strands that we had rerouted around the construction site. So we had Americon come in and splice it for us. It took, like I said, guys who do it every day, all day. I think they still splice for almost 4 hours just to get the 60 splices done, because that's getting them into a case. You can't splice fiber just anywhere like phone line. I mean, contractor hits phone line, the phone company can come out, usually patch it together. They put a big thing over it, gel in there, and bury it. Fiber's not quite that convenient. We have to splice in a box that we can get to it, and so if a contractor hits our fiber, it's not usually a quick fix. It's hey, we got 1,000 feet or more of fiber we got to pull in and then splice it. So I always tell people, if you can avoid hitting fiber, avoid it. Hit the phone line next to it. That's what you do.
We do as many solid runs as we can, so the longer the span, the better. So if we could get from here to the city center on one fiber without any breaks, we would do it.
Yeah. Every time you have a splice or a connection point or anything like that, you lose signal. The best way to describe how fiber works is it's a laser light, and like everything else, as it starts to bend, it bounces. And so you have single mode and multi-mode. Multi-mode is fractionally bigger. It's older too, but and so it's tough to describe when you look at that and go, it's so tiny. But the laser light starts to bounce, and the more it bounces, the slower it starts to go, and it can start to, like, if you ever bounce a ball, it'll bounce like this, and then it'll start bouncing straight up and down. Fiber does the same thing. The light will do the same thing. So multi-mode fiber can get about 5 miles out before it needs to be reboosted. Single mode can do it 20. So we had multi-mode when we first started doing fiber. Like I said, it was the technology, it was the newer stuff. We went to a hybrid, which is some multi-mode, some single mode in the same cable, and now everything is single mode. We're transitioning away from multi-mode, going single mode everywhere. But the state's got fiber connection from Logan to St. George up and down the freeway. So they've got miles and miles of fiber. And we, like I said, we work in conjunction with them on everything on that too. So we have agreements in place. If the fiber is on a state route, even if we install it, it's our fiber, they mark it, maintain it. Then if it's on city street, we have to mark it and maintain it.
Most of the fiber in Orem went in the late 90s, mid to late 90s.
I think we started in 95, or 95, 98.
I'm sure Chris was involved with some of the designs.
I remember when it was going in, yeah, right in front of the city center. We were inspecting that.
So since then, we have replaced and upgraded fiber counts and gotten rid of some of the multi-mode fiber that we don't use. But yeah, it's a 50-year asset or a 100-year asset as long as it doesn't get dug into. It should last a very long time. That was That's,
As you said, it's in your picture.
that's our presentation. If we entertain questions, or we can go upstairs and look at the TOC.
I'd like to know a little bit more about that sign behind Justin, maybe.
This one?
Yeah.
This really is a mast arm sign. To put it into reference, this is the one that baffled me because most people comment about how tall a signal is. This will go up on the mast arm somewhere on one of the mast arms. We got to build the rest of them. But if you ever drive I-15 in North Salt Lake between Bountiful and right at the turn south of Woods Cross, there's a big sign that leads you to Beck Street or 215 or straight on I-15. I was told from the state that sign, if laid on the ground, if set down on the ground, would hide a UTA bus. That's how big that sign is. And that was when, like I said, I'm used to having like this being big and going, oh yeah, it's big. But when they told me that, I thought, that sign is huge. So
The size of the signs are regulated by the speed of the road. So if the higher the speed, the bigger the sign, because you have to be able to legibly read the sign from a certain distance, time-wise, as you're approaching it.
and the font is a standard federal font. Story I have against the font, they were, and I have on Google Earth seen the sign. It's in Baltimore. Anyways, it's the east end of I-70. There's a sign that says Cove Fort X amount of miles, because Cove Fort is the end of I-70 on the west end. And they were testing a new font, so they put it up on that sign. The way they knew the font worked was by how many inquiries of where the heck Cove Fort was, or what Cove Fort was. Nobody knew what it was back there, and so they knew the font was working because people were obviously reading Cove Fort. So that's a federal standard on the font as well.
So do you does the city make these signs themselves, or are these?
Yes,
Okay.
we print the sign and place it on the aluminum. The really the one exception to the sign we don't make is stop signs. They're actually just cheaper to buy, so then it is for us to make them.
This is a latex printer, so it prints latex paint. Then
So
we
there's-
put a UV
yeah.
coat over it, so it gets
There's
10 years.
there's no ridge on this. We used to cut a vinyl and lay it. So we'd have to lay the reflective sheeting down, and then lay a see-through green vinyl on top of that. That worked great, and the problem is it'd get brittle and start to chip. And if we ever wanted to recover the sign because it was needed replaced, you could always see the ridge. This stuff we could throw sign cover over, every new cover over this without a problem at all because it's flat.
So the reason we had to use a special printer is because you need to be able to have reflectivity through the colors. So the color needs to reflect back as well. So if you look closely, you can see the pattern behind it, and that's very important. So you can get color behind coming back to you.
So is that the date the sign was made, or?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's the year and month. There's a couple different ways you can maintain signs. One is retro reflectivity. We have a gun that we can actually put right on the sign and see what its retro reflectivity is. You can imagine how time consuming that would be to jump in a bucket, go up and hit every sign. So I guess there's three ways. There's the gun. The other is to hire somebody. This is actual standard that I think it says over 60 to just go out and evaluate them with his eye. And then the other way is just on a time. So the state's gone to a time where we're doing kind of the same thing. We're just going to change them out every 10 years without testing them. So we date them so we know what that time frame is. And we can track them too. If we decide to do spot checks, we can say, hey, at 5 years, how's the sign doing, and actually hit it with the gun. Or even 10 years, if we can do a check and say, hey, it's still good.
Some of these vinyls are new enough that we don't have a 10-year track record on them. They've come up with and developed new technologies, and so seeing how they work, how they last.
That's just a good way for us to track them.
Do you want to take them to the sign shop and then to the traffic operations center?
Sure, let's do it.
Should we adjourn the meeting first and then go do
I
that?
suppose we could. Mike, did you share this with me?
Yeah, it was just a FYI that was on my door this morning. I don't know what effort is out there, but
Okay.
just want to make sure you're aware.
Okay. Great, so maybe we should adjourn here then.
Yeah, then we can go to those different sites.
And also, let's discuss the next meeting. We're in May right now. Summer's coming up, there's gonna be a lot of vacationing and so forth going on. I would recommend or propose that we perhaps take a pause on our meetings until maybe after school, or we could have one meeting prior to when school starts up again, or
We could start up in September again then, or
we can do that.
any comments from the group?
Fine by me.
I think whatever helps you in
Okay.
in the city, right? If there's a need, it's something that you need feedback or support on, then we'd be
Yeah,
happy to
let's
meet.
do
But if
that.
not,
Okay.
I think September sounds awfully good.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead in September unless, Chris, you want to call us
Yeah.
for some other reason.
Sure, I'll reach out if there's a need to have another meeting prior to that time.
Do we have a date in September yet?
No. We'll send one out.
Okay, that'll be good. Then do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Ayes?
Aye.
Okay.
Just before you guys leave, next week is National Public Works Appreciation Week. And next Tuesday, we are doing a appreciation lunch for Public Works, and we're all invited as the Public Works Advisory Commission. I will send you out an invite.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It'll be here at 11:30, and we're having Mobet as cater.
Oh,
Nice.
Very
And
good.
so, yeah, we'll send you an invitation as well.
All right.
Okay.
We'll
We'll
go
ahead
to
and
the
follow
sign shop
Justin
first, or?
and Taylor.
All right.
I don't know, I haven't heard anything about that, but last night, I ring the doorbell, told me there was a shadowy figure outside, and so this morning, that's what I found on my door, and I noticed that on my door, so interesting. Oh, yeah. See, have you heard anything from?
Yeah, okay, so the master plan is going